go ahead and get started today. We're going to first up, Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. I ask everybody to understand this is a public meeting, so please let us do our business. Also, everyone up front here, please talk into the mic so everyone can hear us, okay? Thank you. First up is C, approval of agenda.
I move to approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Next up is D, comments from the public. Mr. Superintendent.
Mr. Chairman, we have two public comments. They are in full in your packets. The first commenter made one request for funding SWARM, which is robotics in the district. The second commenter made one point. It was a request for an update on the complaint from the April board meeting, April 24th board meeting, regarding Chairman Morse. Those are the public comments.
Okay. Next is board business. First up for board business is proclamations. Okay, proclamation recognizes Pride Month, Greater Albany Public Schools Board of Education, proclamation number 2022/23 TAC 15. Whereas Greater Albany Public Schools is enriched by the diversity of all students, staff, and families it serves, and proud to be a district where LGBTQIA2S+ students can excel academically and make valuable contributions to the vitality of our schools. And whereas the LGBTQIA2S+ community set examples of excellence in public service and in the private sector, such as professions like medicine, law, business, education, technology, government, military service, culture. And whereas the LGBTQIA2S+ community are resilient with strong family values, is dedicated to education and diversities, have added strength to our great democracy. And whereas the LGBTQIA2S+ community have also enriched our society by sharing in the entrepreneurial American spirit that make our nation free and prosperous. And whereas the history of the LGBTQIA2S+ community in the U.S. have overcome misconceptions, bigotry, and hate in the forms of bias, crimes, and speech. And whereas issues such as civil rights abuse, harmful stereotyping, and bullying must be combated in the forms of education and awareness. Whereas the LGBTQIA2S+ community have played an invaluable role in advancing and enriching our schools and districts, teaching and learning spaces. And whereas the incredible contributions and heritage of the LGBTQIA2S+ community have helped us build better schools and a more diverse nation. And now, therefore, be it resolved that the Greater Albany Public Schools District Board of Education proclaimed June 2023 as Pride Month, adopts this 22nd day of May 2023, signed by myself, the board chair, and our superintendent, Andy Gardner. Okay, student board recognition. Last one with us. You guys are both, well, Hadley, you're not.
Junior,
Yeah, you'll be back. All right, but you're all done, correct? All right, well, thank you very much for all you have done for us. Hopefully you've enjoyed it, at least think you've gained something from it, at least a footnote on your college apps or something like that. Okay. Board member annual calendar.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to approve the board member calendar as presented.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Superintendent's comments.
I'll keep them short tonight. We have a lengthy agenda with a lot of tasks to accomplish in that. Just a few quick items. First of all, the budget process will continue to its second meeting on Wednesday night. We have received, I think to date, 2 questions or 1. 3 questions now. And we are working on a PowerPoint that will teach through those. You will recall that on the day that the first meeting occurred, as we proposed the $9.9 billion level of funding in our budget here to meet that, we had also learned that day of the revenue forecast that morning, which showed that the state would have a bigger kicker. We now have a kicker, instead of $4 billion, it is now $5.5 billion. But the good news is that there is additional revenue which will be allocated in the coming weeks. We do not know yet what form that will take. It will need to be moved out of Ways and Means at the legislature. It will then need to progress through both the House and the Senate and be signed before any new funding would arise. We will keep you up to date on any movement out of Ways and Means, which would signal a new funding level that could possibly move forward. They would not do it without consultation with the leaders of both houses and the governor. And so those deals would hopefully indicate earlier than later the funding level that we will end with. And so we will have some summary of what those add backs could look like, and we'll present that on Wednesday night. It is challenging, I think, right now because conducting business there, I know that in the Senate, quorums are a big issue. And so making sure that that work will happen, we'll have to watch that aspect of it as well. We have set the middle school behavior committee, and I know that there has been some angst or concern about that. It is a work group of the district, and we have, I believe, 22 people on the committee. I have set the purpose for the committee, and I want to just review that with you here. Our first purpose, learn and understand the current district policies and handbooks related to student behavior, harassment, and bias incidents with a particular focus on middle schools. But what we would solve here, we would of course want to apply to all schools more broadly. Learn and understand the philosophy of discipline and bias incident response that the district is implementing in the handbook, as well as the relationship between restorative practices, safe and civil schools, and the current handbook. One of the things that I have noticed here is that we have a handbook which has not regularly been updated. We have also attempted to integrate into our buildings, into the practice of discipline in our buildings, restorative justice. And I think that's an important concept that we need to keep in mind as we do this work. Finally, make recommendations to the board for improvements in the discipline handbook that promote the best interests of all students, underserved students, and the well-being and safety of staff and students. For us to address behavior, we must also take into account how the behavior has impacted a teacher and other students, most particularly bias incidents. And so that work, that's a big piece of work there, but we'll start by reviewing the current handbook as well as the philosophy and seeing how they work together or do not. That's all I have, sir.
Okay. Superintendent goals report.
Right now, we're focused on putting together a sustainable budget. I won't put up a presentation. I think one of the things that we are working on is currently, and I think the Budget Committee saw this, we are still in a declining ending fund balance in the manner that we have proposed that to you. The ESSER funds are used in year 1. They will no longer be present in year 2. And so that, again, becomes a one-time fund, and we'll present to you on how we're going to address that. But beyond that, that's really the focus of this week.
Okay. Next up, board reports. Board members. Michael, you have anything?
Yeah, I do. And it's not just from me. We all, I think the board and the superintendent received a message from a teacher coach talking about his experience with bus trips, specifically bus trips he couldn't get a driver for, including, and he's talking specifically about sporting events for his team. The gist of the message was that he believes there's a practice of trip pickup. These aren't regularly assigned trips. And his concern is that certain schools, specifically Title I schools, are treated, there's an assumption by drivers that's a less desirable trip and passed over when offered as an option. So my first question is, and this could be brought back to us, but my question is that assumption true? I assume we have data on these kind of trips. Are certain buildings being passed over for extra trips? And it's not just sports, it's activities of all kinds. We should look at that data, and it just seems unfair on the face of it, if this is true. And I just wanted to bring, I think it should be a discussion the board should have with the superintendent out loud. I thought the teacher coach brought up a great potential problem. And I think the superintendent should bring back to the board, these trips are happening. I think we all know the overall issue is a lack of bus drivers. I think we can all accept that. The secondary issue is if there's a lack of bus drivers and there's going to be missed trips, it should kind of fall on all buildings equally, and they should all take their turn not getting a trip. I think that's the fair response.
I think later, maybe not on activities, but on bus routes, Dave's going to present and he'll show us data.
Great.
But if that's something you want with that makes sense that we'd follow that up.
Yeah.
But I think we're going to present it tonight from what I saw in there on routes that get kids to school. Okay, so we'll have that and we can take that a little bit farther.
Yeah, this is specifically the concept of trip pickup.
Activities.
Yeah, activities, yeah. Okay, that's all I got.
Sure. Okay. Roger?
So first, sorry, a couple minutes late. I had a memorial service today in Walla Walla at 11. I won't tell you how I made it back here by 6:05, but sorry about being late. I guess I'd want to pick up on Director Thompson's content, the letter, the concern. For me, my experience is more than anything else, it's a matter of communication. I know last fall, the South football team looked to be absent a bus to get to Dallas, I believe. And I happened to see the coach in the mini mart. He mentioned that, and I don't know the mechanics that took place to make sure they had a trip, but Superintendent Gardner did that. And so the sports and other extracurricular activities are all part of the school experience, and we should have zero across the board missed trips for kids in schools, and we need to get to that. But in the meantime, I was surprised to see the letter. I was surprised that if they were missing a trip, I live right across the street. I didn't get a phone call and could raise whatever havoc I needed to make sure they got a trip. So nobody should miss a trip to those important activities.
I understood that to be mostly west and south, as I recall from the letter, and not so much the title, but we can, of course, look at that more deeply as well.
Yeah, exactly. I think looking more deeply is the answer to the question. I figure there's data on this. I figure trips that are asked to be picked up must exist somewhere, and if they're not picked up, that must exist somewhere. And I think we could look at all that result and talk then.
Yep. Unfortunately, just like bus routes, some of our activities, things are being missed. That's not what we want, but it is a fact of what's happening. Okay, Eric?
Yeah, I would first like to start with thanking everyone in the room and that was outside today, speaking up, doing their public service, and I really appreciate everyone that showed up and said kind words and had something to give back. So I appreciate all the professionals in the room showing up today. I also see Mr. Taylor and Mr. Mattingly in the room. I'd like to congratulate them and welcome to the team. Ryan, please take a good care of my seat for me. It was a busy weekend for our family. We attended lacrosse, track meet, and an orchestra here at the Albany Performing Arts Center. It was really nice to see. I think we've probably been to 20 things in that room, and it's just amazing in awe. And when we go back out for a bond in a few years, those are the things we need to remember that we're giving back to our students. And my 2 cents on the bus thing, Superintendent Gardner has been working very hard all year to ensure as many bus routes are fulfilled as possible. It's a conversation I've had with him quite a bit. We've actually contracted outside of the district at times to help and support and make some of those transportation trips when we've completely exhausted our own resources. So I will give the floor back to the chair.
Okay. Brad, do you have anything?
Yeah, I've got a couple items. Regarding, there was a public comment on the complaint against Chairman Morse. It has been turned over to a third-party investigator. There's been some scheduling conflicts that have slowed the progress, but the investigator expects to have information to submit to the board in the near future. So as soon as we get something definitive, we will share it with the public. And then on a private note, I've got to leave a little earlier on 7:30 today, so I'm going to duck out at some point that's convenient and head out. But that's all I got.
Okay. Couple things for me. I met with, make sure I get these names right, Tess Wood and Millie Berriger from the Lynn Benton Hispanic Advisory Committee. Ryan Mattingly and Sean Taylor came with me just to meet with them. We liaison with them. I look forward to having a continued good relationship with them. What Eric talked about, the Albany community presentation or awards or where they do the plays. If you haven't gone there, you really should. It's pretty amazing. And what those kids do, whether it be playing band or doing a play or, it's a graduation, that is the first time I was in that building and saw that, I was pretty impressed that we had that high quality of ability to present things. So it was pretty neat. I'm very pleased that they are doing investigation on the complaint on me. I look forward to it happening as soon as we can. As you can imagine, no one likes being called names when they disagree with it. Next up, student board members. Who wants to go first?
So there was track districts. Track district was this past week and weekend. Lacrosse also celebrated their senior night. Summer basketball is starting up soon with 4 practices and 4 games starting May 29th. Golf districts and state happened last week with Nick Anderson finishing 3rd at state at Emerald Valley Golf Course. West Albany's Jazz 1 placed 2nd in the state competition this weekend on May 20th. Mason Chambers was recognized as an outstanding trombone player. The West Albany High School Wind Ensemble received 1st place in 5A at the OSA Band State Championship in Corvallis on May 13th. Congratulations to all the musicians, as well as Stuart Welsh and Brian McFadden. The annual Peacemaker Award ceremony was held on May 9th at the Albany Public Library and honored 13 students and 10 staff members from West Albany High School. The Albany Peace Seekers created the Peacemaker Award to recognize students and staff members who promote harmony, peace, and justice in the community. Students and staff from South Albany and Albany Options were also honored. West Albany had their first cultural celebration day on May 18th. Each class rotated between 4 spots within West, utilizing the APAC for a motivational speaker, the Commons for cultural activities and booths, the main gym for Woodburn High School's mariachi band, and a performance of charreria, which is it's like roping. It was really cool. And the auxiliary gym for Black History trivia alongside other speakers and activities. This was an extremely fun day for everyone. I know I had a great time going to each station, and trying a bunch of different foods. I learned about different cultures, and the overall feedback that I heard was all positive. And West would like to thank all of the organizations and performers who made the cultural celebration possible. The Latinx Club also sold horchata at lunch after the cultural celebration. West Albany High School student teacher team wins the NCWIT Aspirations in Computing School Recognition Award. Congratulations to Mrs. Balmeo and Neona Prado. Junior Neona received the NCWIT Aspirations in Computing Oregon and Southwest Washington Regional Award for 2023, and West Albany High School received the 2023 School Recognition. Congratulations to Neona and computer science teacher Michelle Balmeo. The NCWIT Award is awarded to students who show leadership and aspirations in computer science, technology experience, and leadership. West held its prom on May 13th at OSU's Research Stadium. Everyone looked really good and danced the night away. The bulk of AP exams have passed, and I know many of my classes, alongside a variety of others, have lightened up. West hosted an 8th grade night to plug sports, academics, and other clubs and activities that incoming freshmen can join. There have been many notices for informational meetings from LBCC Medical Assisting Program, the Army National Guard, and a speaker to answer questions about financial aid, Oregon Promise, and LBCC enrollment. West has introduced a skateboard workshop where students come in during lunch to design and build a skateboard. And senior activities are starting to commence. Today happened to be senior skip day. I had a class that was pretty empty, and I heard from an undisclosed source about a beach trip, so hopefully the weather worked out for them.
Over at South Albany for club updates, we have key clubs selected their officers for next year and hoping to do more projects that get them regularly out in the community. The South Albany Youth Activism Club also selected their officers for next year and is working on planting wildflowers and a couple of trees on campus. This project may need to bleed into next year, unfortunately, but they're looking to see what they can do. And they're still very interested in working with the board to discuss solar panels in the district and other eco-friendly solutions, as well as continuing their work with social equality and equity. Avid and Avid Leadership had Toledo High School visit to learn about Avid on the 19th. And they're having an even larger Avid showcase on May 25th, where a bunch of teachers come over to South Albany and learn about how Avid is implemented across all of campus and learn from our school as a national demonstration school. Also on May 25th is the Avid graduation ceremony at 6 p.m. for the Avid seniors to move on from South Albany and for all the other Avid classes to sign on to commit to Avid for another year. The Mecha Club is hosting a dance this Friday in the Commons, and their theme is Bring Your Own Boots. They're calling it the La Pachanga de Año, or the Party of the Year, which is a hard title to live up to. They're also hosting a festival this Saturday along a 2-day soccer tournament. And FCCLA will be having a table at said festival with lemonade to help refresh attendees. The Greenhouse Club is selling some plant starters starting this Thursday. And moving on to library happenings, they're continuing their extended hours for 5 until 4:30 with tutoring, Mondays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays. They've been celebrating Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month all of May, as much as they could with AP tests happening in the library and multitasking as much as possible. They've also been having a live jazz during lunch on the library's back patio next to their new plant library that was put in place during Earth Month in collaboration with the culinary program. As well as Ms. Reimer, our head librarian, is helping students to attend an ethnic studies trip this Friday. Woods, Metals, and our construction program have worked to make some benches and picnic tables that will start going on sale today, I believe. And leadership and admin have already claimed 2 of these benches to sit by the library's garden beds, so they're going quick. Keep your eyes out for those. The last week of Red Hawks Rising is happening next week with May 23rd and May 25th, which was the after-school tutoring sessions, but Tuesdays and Thursdays where students can get help from teachers and et cetera. And they'll also be having some support days before finals as well, on the last Thursday and Tuesday before finals. Leadership had a successful last spring dance of the year, as well as their homecoming spirit week last week, with a 70s themed old school dance happening last Friday. They're also hosting macho volleyball tonight at 6 p.m., so I'm currently missing that, unfortunately. And the Powder Puff game is tomorrow at 6:30 p.m., including a tailgate party starting at 5:30 p.m. an hour before the game. ASB and leadership also selected the ASB officers for next year, including our president, Rafael Lozada, our vice president, Hunter Wilson, secretary and treasurer, Carissa Pega Elizondo, and spirit officers, which is they've labeled themselves the flock. It include 5 people: Ava Marshall, Cameron William Caspino, Kanan Caspino, Riley Parker, and Kaylee Cordell. And one of those members, Rafael Lozada, I've talked with Mr. Hunter about it, and we're looking to have him replace me as this position next year. He's back there actually in the room if he wants to wave.
Awesome.
In addition, we're running class elections for next year. Campaign week is happening right now, and officers will be announced next week after voting takes place. We also had the Peacemaker Awards ceremony at the library, where a bunch of teachers came down and students were honored for being peacemakers in our community, campus, and overall world. For sports and activities, music, jazz band placed 5th at a state festival over the weekend. A cappella in Albany performed at the Albany Arts Performing Center last Friday, and a choir pops concert is happening at the Albany Performing Arts Center 7 p.m. this Wednesday. For sport, we also had 11 athletes qualify for track and field state. That includes Nora DeYoung, Jesse Bass, Xander Campbell, Farrellyn Dixon, Morgan Jones, Tatum Trudell, Claire Bitter, Cameron Thompson, Sawyer Hauberg, Matthew Resnick, and Max Luber. Farrellyn Dixon in particular was labeled the Conference Athlete of the Year and set a new meet record for the 100 meters. She is also only a freshman, so we'll be having her for another 3 years, hopefully. We also had an 8th grade night for incoming freshman families and students where they could come around, see a bunch of different clubs, get involved, as Hadley explained, essentially the same thing. We also wrapped up AP testing to much of students' relief. And seniors will be ending the year strong with a senior awards assembly this Friday, senior community awards night, which is invitation only, unfortunately, on May 30th, and of course, graduation on June 6th. For all other grades, the move-up assembly that symbolizes they're moving on to the next grade is happening June 9th, and with finals soon to follow after. And that will be all.
Thank you. Okay, H, committee, community, and school presentations. First up, H1 is Lynn County Juvenile Report. Mr. Tory Lynn, thank you.
If I can work the technology here real quick.
There you go. Well done.
Thank you for allowing me to be here this evening and talk a little bit about what we're doing at the juvenile department. We interface pretty frequently with not only GAPS, but each of the other 6 school districts in Lynn County. And so the relationships are really important for the kids that we're all working with. Just a little bit about our department. We've got 36 full-time staff, 2 permanent part-time positions. One of those is an education transition specialist that works at our detention center. And job is really to focus on youth coming in and out of that facility and making sure that they get reconnected with school when they leave, and then when they're coming in, trying to make sure that we're connecting with their school to help with that transition. We have about 10 to 15 part-time staff, and then just a little bit about the experience of the staff that we have. As you can see, over 50% of our staff have been with us 10 years or longer. So we've got a lot of experience within our department. Our vision and mission statement, really is providing public safety by helping youth and families achieve positive change. And, public safety is our first item of our mission. And being able to make sure that we're taking care of issues that happen in our community and making sure that we can do what we can to make the public safe. The way we do that, though, is by helping and coaching youth and their families. We want them to be making positive choices, and we do that through education, skill building, and community partnerships. it kind of brings the question about what is public safety. And we know that when a youth goes to our detention center, that does create public safety, but we also have to understand that that's a very short-term, time-limited event. And so, what we try to focus on when we have youth, whether it's at detention or working with us in our department, is what are we doing with that youth during the time that we have them to help them make better choices in the future. And so we do a lot of skill building. We do a lot of helping them understand what their thinking is and kind of how it got them to where they are, and help them learn some different skills, replacement skills for some of the things that they have that aren't as pro-social, and try to help them provide better decision-making in the future. We know a lot about brain development in the last 20 years or so, adolescent brain development, and also the developmental approach and being able to take youth where they're at and help them gain some of those skills that they're lacking really helps them be successful. We know that kids that are successful in our school programs are much less likely to end up with us. And so school is one of our main concerns as we work with young people in our community to make sure that they're attending some form of educational program, whether that's mainstream school, an alternative program, an online program, but education is a primary thing that we're looking at. We have a belief that kids will do well when they can. And so kids in our community have suffered many traumas and many setbacks throughout their young lives. And so being able to understand that and help them work towards making better decisions is really what that goal is. Providing them with some of those replacement skills. They've learned the skills growing up in their families, in their community, and their culture. And some of those skills have not done them well. And so helping them find some different skills to help avoid situations or work through conflict in a different way that's more pro-social and doesn't get them in trouble. Just a little bit about referrals that we've received over the last, well, this is 2022. So we had 831 allegations. And so that's not individual youth. And one youth might have more than one allegation when we get a police referral. And so this kind of just gives you a quick overview of kind of what happens to those. And you can see kind of the middle blue portion at the bottom, 13% of the allegations that we had actually ended up on probation. So there's a lot of things that happen between when we get a police referral and someone ending up on probation. There's lots of kind of off-ramps and diversions that are able to be implemented. And so that first review is when we get police reports, let's go to the district attorney's office and they make a determination right away, is there anything there or not? If there is, then we're looking at setting up a meeting with that youth and their family and have them come in and talk about what happened with the incident. About 80% of the kids that we see at the juvenile department, we only see once, and then we don't see them again. And so many years ago when I started in this business, there was some new research out of California called the 8% solution. And what that talked about was that 8% of your population of your kids cause about 90% of the problems in your community. And so it was really looking at, at different risk levels and who are your high risk, who are your high flyer kids, and really dedicating resources, knowing that if we can get those kids turned around and provide them with some different skills in order to make better decisions, that's really going to drop down the disruption in our community. You can see these are referrals, so this would be individual police reports that we're receiving. Again, not individual youth, but reports. Pre-COVID, 2019, we had 920 referrals, and then it does have the youth number in the blue, and it's dropped significantly during COVID, and then we've come up just a little bit in 2022. Drug and alcohol allegations, again, pre-COVID, dropped significantly. And I'm sure the board is aware of ballot measure 110, which passed in 2020, that changed the drug classification system. And so it took drugs like heroin, methamphetamine, and cocaine from being misdemeanors and made those Class E violations. And so the decriminalization of those drugs. And so that has also had an effect on what you would see here in these referrals. Essentially, it's like a traffic ticket now for those offenses. I had a really good explanation of a police captain who said, you know, the laws designate where we spend our time. And so public safety, when we have a felony offense, that's going to get a high priority of police attention, right? And then, but when you label something as a Class E violation, which is like a traffic ticket, they're not going to spend a lot of time trying to address those issues. And so we're seeing that now with our youth and the numbers that we see. Recidivism is one of the things that we look at just to see. So it always seems a little backwards to me, but the 75.7% in 2021 are youth who did not commit another crime in the following 12 months. And so you can see our numbers the last 3 years at Lynn County Juvenile Department. And then we have youth who committed one to two crimes, and then 3 or more crimes are the kids that we would really consider kind of chronic offenders. Here's just some comparisons with the state and then some counties that are surrounding us and also counties that are similar to us. Douglas County, Yamhill County have similar populations as us. Benton County is a bordering county along with Marion, just to kind of see where we stack up against those other counties. And you know, I've tried really hard to get some numbers on just GAPS kids, and it turned out to be much more difficult than I thought it was going to be. And we have a really great state system that has a lot of information in it, and I thought, oh, that'll be real easy to pull out. And it turned out to be actually a much bigger project than I expected. So the numbers that we're talking about, we looked at kids that were registered in the GAPS district. Now, this doesn't mean that referrals that we got had to do with school. They just have to be, they were living and attending a GAPS school. So they could have gotten arrested in the community, or most likely, most of them did get arrested in the community. We looked at the calendar years, school calendar from 2018 to 2021. And what we looked at is kids who didn't have anything happening the previous 12 months, and then what happened after that. So we had 268 youth that were referred to the juvenile department during that time frame. 91% of those youth did not have another criminal referral the following 12 months. And so when we kind of talk about recidivism, kind of fits that definition, although recidivism is measured on a calendar year, and this is on the school year, so it's a little wonky with that. We had 22 youth that had another referral or two in the following 12 months, and just one youth that had 3 or more criminal referrals. And so the thing about GAPS is we split the river, and so some of those kids are also Benton County kids. So when I was trying to pull data, it's not super clean. I was actually met this last week with a researcher with the state in this system, and he developed a system very similar in Florida. And you can pull up Florida, the state of Florida, and you can click on every school district and see, you know, kids that were involved and kind of what happened and where they went through. So that's something that we're trying to work on, but it's not as easy as we'd like it to be right now. Here's some of the things, skill opportunities that we try to provide for youth who are at our detention center. And I'm gonna flip through. I've got some pictures and stuff to go through, so we'll kind of go through those quickly here. I know you guys have a full agenda. We have a horticulture program. We have a full-time horticulturalist that works at the detention center, so that the youth get about an hour little bit over an hour a day of working garden projects, and they do a lot of really cool projects. We have actually a Shopify account. We just had a big sale last week, or 2 weeks ago. And so plants get sold out of that, and all that money just goes right back into the program. There's a couple pictures there. They do Christmas wreaths, table centerpieces around holidays. Here's some of the hanging baskets and other ornamentals they do. We have a pretty extensive native nursery as well. Those plants get sold into projects for the watersheds, Calapooya Watershed, Oceans Blue, City of Albany. Also, these are some of the native plants. We have opportunity a couple times a year to have this heavy equipment operator training. And it's got the equipment in it, you sit in it, and it's all virtual. It's really cool, but youth have a chance to get certified on 4 different pieces of heavy equipment. So they get about 20 hours of certification training in those pieces of equipment. Have opportunities to do some CPR first aid training. Question around the chicken and the egg. The egg came first in this case, but they're doing some hatching of some eggs and learning about the life cycle there. Our school resource officer, one of our school resource officers came in and talked about just law enforcement and educating youth on that. One of our staff is a veteran, so on Veterans Day, brought in his military uniform and talked about why we celebrate Veterans Day and the purpose of that. We have an OSU professor that comes in and does music lessons with youth, and then Welcome Waggers. They bring in therapy dogs once a week. And then here's some other projects that we do with kids. They're 3x5 wooden flags that they'll make. We're teaching kids how to tie flies or jigs. Did some cider pressing, some art. We do a salmon fry program, get the eggs. They learn about the life cycle of the salmon. These fish get released into the Santiam River. One of the positions that we have in the department is an intervention specialist, and they work in the Albany middle schools. Right now, she is serving 90 youth that are Albany kids. 86 of those youth are not kids involved with our department. So she's doing evidence-based skills groups in the school district, in the buildings throughout the week. And then she also runs a summer program for boys and girls. So she does one program for boys, one program for girls. And so these are some of the things that they did this last summer. They visited the robotics, learned about the robotics. They got to make some little robot mobile cars and do that. They did a snorkeling project on the Calapooya, or I'm sorry, this is on the Santiam with the Calapooya watershed. So they learned about, again, kind of a lot of learning going on. Hatfield Marine Science Center, the director there was able to take them out to tide pools, so they're learning about different plants and animals and how those all fit together. This is a probation officer that actually is at West Albany High School. We have also one at South Albany High School. And they'll, the purpose of them being in the school really is not just to supervise kids that are on probation. It's really a community. They know a lot of kids. Kyle Kenyon is this probation officer. Most of the kids at West Albany High School would know who Kyle was. He's very gregarious. He's got great relationships with the kids. They're high-fiving him down the hallway. And then when he needs to be able to go into some classes and talk about drugs and alcohol or what the juvenile system is or what you could expect if you became involved, they're more receptive to those conversations. We do operate work crews, and this is at the Moyer House down in Brownsville. This is a property that they cleaned that had been repossessed by the county, so they do some property management. And these are kids that it would either be sentenced by the court to do work crew, or they would be through a formal accountability agreement. So one of our diversionaries programs, they would be doing some hours on that just to kind of make up. That was a lot of information pretty quickly. I know you guys are busy. Can I answer any questions that you might have?
I've been somewhat involved with Mr. Kenyon and Ms. Shook and Mrs. Shook, and you have some excellent employees, and it shows with your longevity that your employees really like their job and they're good at what they do. They're recognized working in nonprofits. They're recognized, coaching, and it's really nice to see summer programs start up and keep these young minds busy and positive influences, and your reoccurrence rate really shows the great product that your staff is turning out. So I appreciate it, sir.
Thank you.
Tori, are there any areas that we could do a better job with working on the same team to help kids for you?
I think we've had really good support from GAPS over the years, for sure. GAPS helps out a lot with that summer program. They've helped with transportation in the past. They've done the lunches for the kids, kind of put those together. So that's been really beneficial and helpful. I think, there's some critical transition points, I think, for kids. And when they're moving from grade school to middle school to high school, I think those are times that, and I don't know what all the efforts are that the district does, but those are really critical times for kids during those transitions. And so I think anything that can be done to help bolster and educate youth around what that transition is going to look like for them kind of helps reduce some of the fears that they have. And so in the past, we've done an 8th grade transition program. We've run that, the juvenile department, along with GAPS. And we, it's kind of that old adage that, that first grade teacher can kind of tell you who the kids are that might kind of be headed towards our system very early on. And I think as we see these kids coming down the tracks, we need to look for those opportunities to intervene. And so, the longer we wait to intervene, the further down the track they are, and the more problems and more difficult it is for them to kind of change what they're doing. And so I think there's some early intervention points, and that comes through accountability at the school level. And accountability doesn't have to be punitive. Accountability really is teaching and learning for kids to make sure that they understand what the expectations are, and that us as adults make sure that that they safely are able to make mistakes, but then learn from those mistakes and provide a better service in our community.
Anyone else with questions?
Thank you, Tori.
Thank you, Tori.
Thank you.
Okay. Next up, West Albany High School. Ms. Horsborn.
Thank you, Superintendent Gardner and the district leadership team, and Chair Morse and the board members for having us here tonight. Before we get started, I would love for my administrative team. Oh, look at them. I want to introduce them because we're a huge team. Anna is our Dean of Students this year for the first year with us, and she helped me put this together. I'm not the most tech-oriented person. Jessica Smith, Assistant Principal, Rich Engel, Assistant Principal, and Sean Saxton, Assistant Principal. And I really feel like we're a team, and a big part of our team, obviously, is the staff, our teachers, so, and our classified staff as well. But I want to thank Hadley for keeping you up to date all year long. So I feel like I'm just going to be repeating a lot of what Hadley's taught you, but I'm super excited to share with you about West Albany High School. And our mission statement is to graduate culturally responsible students empowered to achieve college and career success. And we really think it's important that it's college and career success. And we really believe that if we do the bullet points below, that we will achieve that. And number one is ensuring a safe, inclusive, and equitable environment. And 2, investing in the individual achievement of every student. And 3, providing diverse opportunities to support relevance between the classroom and post-high school experiences. And promoting critical thought and problem solving. Building academically supportive and meaningful relationships. We value relationships with our students and our staff. And appreciating, valuing, and contributing to a positive community that honors the inherent dignity of all. And that's super important to us. And the next slide is just some quick facts about us. We have a student population of 1,200 students. That has ebbed and flowed, but since the building of Timber Ridge and boundary changes, we were running about 1,400, and we've been in the last few years at about 1,200 students. We have a 4-year graduation rate last year of 96%, and it's one of the highest in the state, if not the highest. We have a 5-year completer rate of 99%. The difference between a graduation rate and a completer rate is graduation rate is students who walk across the stage and get a diploma, whether it be a regular diploma, an honors diploma, or a modified diploma. 5-year completer rate is additionally the 4-year graduation rate plus anybody who completes their GED is a completer and has an additional year to do that. And so we're proud of the fact that in the 5th year, we get most students finished. But like I always say, that even though you have 96% or a 99, still some kids aren't graduating. And that's super important to us that we can get all those students. 65% of our students are college bound. And I want to be real clear that I've been at West Albany a long time, and that 4-year college bound student has not changed very much. It's always been between 30 and 35%. But with the Oregon Promise and our partnership with Lynn Benton Community College and the community colleges surrounding has made a huge difference for students. And now 65% of our students are college bound. That doesn't necessarily mean to get a degree. The great thing about LBCC is they have certificates as well as special programs that you can get licensed in, and as well as the associate's degree. So 65% includes all of those programs. Something that we pride ourselves on is that we have 70 student clubs offered. And if you're a student at West Albany and you want to start your own club, all you need to do is find an adult in the building who's willing to be the advisor, and you can start your own club. And if you want to start a club and you can't find an advisor, if you come to us, we'll help you do that. And we really think that that connection to school is so important. And along with the clubs, we participate in 25 OSAA-sponsored activities, and we also have water polo and lacrosse that aren't OSAA activities. We're hoping that they will be. So it's been a great chance for students to get connected to our school. So that's 95 different things that students can connect with after school. And to be honest with you, when we do our student survey, there's a lot of students that just like attending activities and cheering on their friends. And so that's super important as well. We have 21 advanced placement courses offered. And with those 21, many of them have College Now credits. Last year, our seniors earned $3.2 million in scholarships, and we haven't calculated it yet because our awards night is on Monday night, the week of graduation. So we're not quite sure as they're just coming in, but that's a lot thanks to our community. And most importantly, too, is the Albany Public School Foundation. They do great things for our students. Our teacher to student ratio is 1 to 24. And that can be a little deceiving at times because some of our classes are smaller than others. And then we have some classes that are pretty large. If you look at the right, I'm not going to go over all of them, but that's a breakdown of our current demographics of our students, because I think that that's super important too. So our approach, we prioritize the utilization of high leverage instructional practices. And we have for the last 10 years, and we update this all the time. We work with Avid, we're an Avid school, and QTEL. And but these top 10 things are what we look for when we go into classrooms. And these were created by our staff together. And so, number one, build meaning relationships with all students. That's super important. Establish a safe, supportive, productive, and collaborative learning environment. Utilize multiple engagement strategies on a daily basis. If students are engaged in the classroom, they're going to do better. Plan, teach, and assess with clear learning targets in mind. We're at QTEL and Avid both are heavy on the planning and letting students really interact together during the learning, and providing timely and meaningful feedback to students, super important. Promoting creativity, critical thought, and inquiry. Teach the what and focus on the why. Students need to know what they're learning, but more importantly, they need to know why. And then model enthusiasm. It's super important that we love what we do and we show our students that we value them and care about their learning. And then design and deliver rigorous curriculum, super important. All students can achieve if we just help them. And then exemplifying culturally relevant teaching practices. And this is making sure that we're teaching to all students and that we can relate and help them with relating, that we're going to look at their culture and make sure that they're included in our lessons. And that's a big thing that's really important with QTEL and Avid. So you asked about some challenges, and I would tell you the number one challenge right now is attendance. It continues to be a challenge since COVID. And before COVID, West Albany High School had an average daily attendance rate of 93 to 94%. And right now, our average daily attendance is 88%. And we're really struggling with getting students to school every day. And our regular attenders, and that means they have greater than 90% attendance, is 62%. And our chronically absent means that they have less than 90, and you can do the math, is 23%. And severely chronically absent is less than 80, and that's 14%. And those are the students that we work really, really hard trying to get them in class. And we all know that if students are at school every day, they will learn and they will be successful. And so that's been a huge, huge problem since COVID. And we used to have parent attendant callers instead of the automated machine. And so I really think that we're going to return to that because it made a huge difference to call parents with a personal phone call. And a lot of times when we did that, we found out what was going on at home and if there was a death in the family or a parent was ill or a grandparent or a sibling. But we really felt like that built that relationship. And so we're going to get back to that. We work together, all of the administrators, the dean of students, the counselors, the registrar, the attendance administrative. We meet weekly, FACT, Lynn County Drug and Alcohol. We meet every single week and we go over those severely chronically absent and we put together plans to try to help in things that we can do to get students to school. And I got to be honest, at first, and I feel like Superintendent Gardner's really made a difference, but our busing system and not getting kids to school, had a big effect. And I commend you all for, I feel like that's been really made a difference, and it's happening now. So, but that was huge too. The other thing is that staffing, I think that this year, as you know, we got cut 2.0 for the next school year. And I got to be honest with you, I'm super worried about it, because those are teachers in the classroom, and I'm a firm believer the most valuable people in the school are the people that are in the classroom with students. And we have had sophomore, junior, senior support classes. We're going to still be able to staff our freshman support classes, but with the cuts, we won't be able to staff the sophomore, junior, and senior support classes. And that significantly impacts student credits. And I'm worried that it's going to impact graduation rates. And I want you to know that I could tell you every single student who didn't graduate, and I can tell you why, and we still try every week when we lose a student, we try everything to get them re-engaged. And it doesn't necessarily mean re-engage with us. Sometimes it means with Albany Option School. Sometimes it means with GED or Job Corps or Youth Challenge. We just want to make sure that every student has the skills that they need to be successful in life. And then our continuous improvement goal. So our goal number 1 is in every class, students will be engaged in rigorous conversations about content, leading to deeper levels of understanding and collaborative learning. And we just have made a commitment that in our classes, students are going to be talking, students are going to be interacting with each other, and they're going to raise the level by the prompts that teachers are giving them, and that when students are talking to each other and collaborating, critical thought and problem solving happens, and it makes for a richer, deeper understanding. And then number 2, we really, our second goal was to focus on equity practices with staff and students. We value student voice. We have a suggestion box. We just had site council tonight, and at the beginning of every meeting, our students read from our student suggestion box. It's online and in person. They can drop them in. We want to, again, provide a safe space where everyone feels welcome and to celebrate diversity. And we just had our very first celebration day, a cultural celebration at school, and it was super successful. And we had a lot of community members, and our students felt really valued and a part of our school. And we didn't have any. We moved kids from 4 different big gym, little gym, common space, auditorium, and we didn't have any behavior incidences all day, and it was fantastic. And everybody really took a interest in what they were learning from other people's cultures. And then we want to disrupt microaggressions. We want to make sure that all students feel safe and valued and a part of our school. And if they're suffering from microaggressions on a daily basis, that's not a good thing. And so we've really spent a lot of time trying to disrupt that behavior. So points of pride. So I think one of the biggest points of pride is that 95% is our average teacher retention rate. We have teachers that have been in our building over 20 years. And another point of pride is that we have 18 employees that are West Albany graduates. I think there's no greater compliment to your school than when you want to come back and work in your school. And our students really take pride in our school, and we have lots of them that are subbing, and but I think that those are huge things for West Albany, and at a time when teachers have been unhappy and left their profession, we've been able to continue to have our teachers at school. We put academics on one side and athletics and activities on the other. We have Oregon's Assistant Principal of the Year recipient in Jessica Smith. I think that was a big honor to our school. 185 of our students were honored at our academic awards that we just had. A West Albany student was one of 2 in Oregon named, I just went to, she also won the Coca-Cola scholarship, and they had us for dinner, if you can believe this, at the Portland City Grill. And, but that student was one of 2 in Oregon named as a U.S. Presidential Scholar and also a National Merit Scholar. Our ASB president is heading to Harvard. West Albany student was one of 6 in Oregon to win the National Gold Medal for Scholastic Art and Writing. West Albany teacher named Oregon Journalism Teacher of the Year. That was Michelle Balmeo. West Albany student and school, and Hadley talked about this tonight, received Aspirations in Computing School Recognition Award. 13 students scored in the top 12% in our region and have been invited to the Oregon Invitational Mathematics Tournament, and that's at the U of O. 10 students received State of Oregon Seal of Biliteracy. So they are biliterate, and I think that's a huge, huge honor. And guess what? For the first time ever, we had students that weren't native speakers and learned in the 4 years they were at West Albany, and they passed the Seal of Biliteracy, so that was a big deal. This is huge. Our library circulation increased by 250%. We checked out over 7,000 books to our students. And our librarian is phenomenal. And we had a teacher named U.S. Presidential Scholar Distinguished Teacher. And then on the activities and athletics side, our wind ensemble were state champions. We had a national 2-time state champion in women's wrestling. Our water polo and our men's swimming took 3rd in state. Our volleyball was 4th in state. We had 2 football players named first team All-State. Our men's soccer team was 2nd in state. We had 5A All-State players in football, soccer, basketball, and water polo. Our dance team placed 3rd in state and our cheer 5th. 21 students selected for All-State and All Northwest Honor Ensembles, band and choir, and speech and debate just placed 3rd in state. And I know Hadley's kept you up to speed on all that. So every year, we give our students and our staff and our parents a school survey, and we ask them, what do we do well? And we have some multiple choice that we give them, but the 2 things that we value the most is the voice that they have, and what do we do well, and how can we improve? And if you ask 1,200 students what we do well and what we can improve, trust me, they tell you. And I love this part. So I took these directly from the student survey. The opportunities I get allow me to get a sense of my future and be supported while doing so. I like the activities like dances, assemblies, and school spirit things, which other schools don't have, which create a captivating environment. The way that teachers love what they are teaching and help students. I also like the family atmosphere the students and staff create. I like that we have the AAYLC club here because it makes us Black students feel accepted and more comfortable, and they have since renamed their club the Black Student Union Club. I love the West Albany community. Our student body is kind and supportive of each other. The teachers and staff have the students' best interest at heart, and I personally believe that they want each individual to succeed. And then next page is, and last but certainly not least, again, when staff check out at the end of the year, make sure that every staff member fills out the survey And these were directly quotes from the staff. I love our school family and the feeling of belonging that I get working here. There are so many wonderful students that make this place a magical place to work. There are a lot of phenomenal human beings that work here that help each other and work extremely hard providing kids a great education and a positive community. Recognizing students from all walks of life and all activities, consistently evaluating and adjusting systems to best serve students and staff, genuinely saying good job to people. It's simple but so impactful. School spirit and student involvement are strengths. Student, parent, teacher voice is also well represented in our processes. So thank you, and I will open it up for any questions that you may have.
Roger.
Principal Orsborn, tell me about is the Performing Arts Center. What are we calling that beautiful place that's on your?
It's the Albany Performing Arts Center.
Okay. Tell me if that's accomplished what the community thought it would when it was being built, and tell me about the access that South Albany High School and those students have to the facility. Is that working out okay?
So I would tell you that that facility is being used every single night of the week. It's absolutely doing exactly what it was intended to do. And we made sure that on the outside it says Albany Performing Arts Center. It's for all of the district's schools, and it's part of our community. And I think it's exactly doing what we wanted it to do. And I would tell you, and Mr. Eastman and I just had a conversation about that. When we went out for that bond, we wanted 2 performing arts centers because both most 5 or 6A schools have a performing arts center, and the community came back and said we need to start with 1, and as long as it's with a rebuild. And I'm going to tell you that I really believe that if we went out for another bond, that South Albany should also have a performing arts center because we can use both of them every single night. But I would tell you, it's doing exactly what it was intended to do. And Stuart Welsh, that's his job half-time is to really run that. And he goes above and beyond. But when we built that performing arts center, it has lights that are colored for every single school in the district. So when South Albany performs, it has red lights. And when West Albany performs, it's got blue. But every single middle school, every elementary, and we have a prop room in the back of props that have been gathered over time, and costumes that have been gathered over time, and they're all organized, and any school that comes can use any of that if they would like to. So I would tell you it's doing exactly what it was intended to do, and that every single school's using it. And I was a South Albany grad, and we played at West Albany at Memorial Stadium, and I never felt like I was at West Albany High School when I was competing, and I think that's how the Performing Arts Center is. I really do believe that its intention was exactly what happened. So thanks for asking that question.
One of the things you mentioned is attendance, getting people there, okay? One of the things that Tori kind of led to a little bit too was the idea that just catching these kids in between 8th and 9th grade, or
Right.
5th and 6th. First off, let's talk about attendance. So before COVID, we had the ESD helped us out with truancy officers. Where did those go, and do you believe we need them back?
So thanks for asking, because I think I forgot that when I was speaking, but it was up there on the screen. So we had a great relationship with the ESD attendance truancy officer, and the value in her name was Dina, and she is amazing. And the value in having a tenancy truancy officer with ESD, she had been with families since kindergarten. And when they got to high school, she knew them. She could tell us everything about what they needed, how to best serve them. She had a relationship. So when she showed up at their home, she could bring the parents to us, and together we could make a plan. But they trusted her and they knew her because she had followed them the whole way. And I know she still works for the ESD, and that's something that I would really, really want to reestablish. I'm not asking for us to fine, because that's why the attendance officer was not renewed. As I don't want parents to be fined. I just want to get kids in school, and that relationship that she built. She helped the middle school, the elementary school get kids to school, and then the middle school, and then us. And she was in our meetings weekly, and we would talk, and she'd go, yeah, this happened in this family, and I know them, and I'd be happy to go to their house and get them reengaged. So thanks for bringing that up, because I missed that, and I think Anna was trying to tell me I missed it, but I was a little talkative, sorry.
On the other thing I was talking to you a little about, what are the challenges? And I know that each school does it a little different, but I think you guys have like Freshman Academy or something like that. Talk to that, and talk to how do you get that 8th grader ready for high school? Because and this is a buzzword for me, unfortunately, but the way we do grades and the way we do things in the middle schools is way different than the high school. And unfortunately, a lot of those kids, they're already dealing with a lot of social changes going from 8th grade to high school, but then they're also now dealing with academic changes. And unfortunately, a lot of them kind of get caught and don't do very well their freshman year. And so how do we help them not hit that hurdle?
So first of all, Jessica works with our freshmen, and Sean works with the sophomores, and Rich works with the juniors. And I think it makes a huge difference to have an administrator, and then we have a counselor that is with the freshmen and sophomores and juniors and seniors, and I work with the seniors. But Anna has been helping too with Jessica and Sean with freshmen and sophomores. But I think that the transition summer school has been super positive. We have a good number of our staff that volunteer to do the transition summer school, and that's in August, right before school starts. And we try to do it the 2 weeks before fall sports start, so that we can get them connected to the school right away. But we Jessica meets with our feeder middle schools, and we look at the things that we've seen over the years on Freshmen on Track, and we invite them to summer school. And our summer school is theme-based. So we try to really make it a fun environment, and I've never had a kid that's come to summer school that hasn't said it was a great experience. So one year we did aviation, and everything was based around aviation, math, science, English, social studies, and then we do physical education, kind of getting into, but we also did marine biology one time, and it's really geared towards not as much academics as it is geared towards welcoming them to school and making sure that they know the campus, they see that teachers are value them, and really getting that transition set. And then again, we have class meetings at the beginning of the year, and we also have freshman and sophomore study skills that are super important on really just talking about the changes from middle school and high school. And dog teams, we have an advisory that we do with freshmen as well. But we have a lot of time with freshmen to really help them. And then we also have a freshman success program on top of that for students who are struggling. And we have them in a class, and those are The success classes are what I'm really worried about, those interventions to really help students be successful. But I really believe that our, working with our K through 8 teachers and transitioning into high school is super important. And we just had the 8th graders over, and I thought that was huge, just setting the stage of how we do things. And so hope that answered your question.
I have another one.
Go ahead, Brad.
And Susie, I'm not sure if this is for you or maybe Andy, but you mentioned that getting an ESD truancy officer back would be very, very helpful. How does that get done? What needs to happen to make that occur?
So we worked through the ESD with their menu of offerings, and we set that up. I think that may have changed when, and I know we experienced in Staten, we lost the ability to cite regularly, right? And so that changed fundamentally that approach. We'd have to investigate that.
Can we do that and kind of report back?
Yeah, we can look at that. I think that is something that could take place at the beginning of the year as well.
Yeah, I wouldn't think we'd get it done for this year, but yeah, okay.
One more thing. So we're doing a middle school behavior working group. What do the high schools want in their incoming 9th graders?
That's a loaded question.
It sure is.
Well, I would tell you that I think the biggest thing for us is it's all about treating each other with respect and valuing each other and our school. The community built a beautiful rebuild of our high school, and I just want to make sure that we continue to make everyone feel welcome and that students respect the school and each other, because I think that's super important.
Anyone else?
I just had a question about a bond project. The windows for the admin wing were leaking. Do we get those fixed?
No, but they're going to be fixed this summer.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
I know, I just have a curious question. You mentioned
Yes.
you have over 70 student clubs.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know the retention rate for those clubs, or like how many members each one has?
You know what? I do not know. And that's a great question. And you know what? It changes from year to year. Some are more popular than others, and some start and some drop off. And
No, we have some clubs that sometimes, we have only 13 clubs on our campus, but we have some that sometimes 30 members show up and sometimes we only have 5, so.
Exactly. And you know what? I know we have the same. And clubs ebb and flow, right? And so we'll gain some and then some will drop off. But that's a great question that I can't answer. So thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you, Susie.
Thank you, guys. And I'm not moving out of the front row because it was freezing and I was cold, so I'm just going to the back. I'm not leaving.
Okay, next up is school report for Timber Ridge. Mr. Gardner.
It's my pleasure to introduce longtime principal in the district at Timber Ridge, Jody Dudera.
Thank you. Thank you
Thank you.
to the school board and to Mr. Gardner for the introduction and the opportunity to share with you about Timber Ridge School. So the very first thing up here, we are a 4th through 8th grade building, and we are the only building in the district that is configured that way. Sometimes we like to call ourselves the unicorn school. So anyway, then the next part on here is our vision. And a few years ago, maybe 5 years ago, as a staff, we really dove in deep and worked on our values and what we really wanted to promote for our students. And what we came up with, Timber Ridge Titans strive to follow expectations, actively engage in their learning, and build positive relationships and overall success for every student. And as I move on through here, you'll see that everything we do at Timber, we really try to bring back to our vision, and we look to link those things back to what our 3 main goals are right there. So we, this year, we currently right now have 651 students. We serve the largest geographical area in the district. You can see our race and ethnicity. We have 10% of our students that are would be American Indian, Asian, Black, Pacific Islander, and multiracial. All together make 10% of our population. 18% of our population is Hispanic and 72% is white. You can also see we have 14% of our students are on IEPs, 4% of our students are English language learners. About 27% of our students are participating in our free and reduced lunch program. We have currently 40 staff that include, certified staff that include 2 counselors, 1 dean of students, and 1 MTSS instructional coach. And then classified staff, we currently have 25, and that does include our custodial and kitchen staff. So our approach, and I broke this into our goals once again, are our school vision. So the work we do at Timber Ridge, like I said, we really always try to bring it back to this. And so under following expectations, we as a staff really use the CHAMPS that was from Safe and Civil Schools, and we work to teach kids expectations in all areas, classroom and all areas of the school. The next part is actively engaging in learning, and one big thing we really focus on is to have kids take an active role in their learning. And this includes using collaborative structures and really working on emphasizing student talk. And another really big piece of what we do in our overall learning system is what you've probably heard of as MTSS, RTI. And we do take advantage of using multiple screeners, and we're looking at how are we doing in our core instruction, what areas do we need to improve and strengthen, and then what interventions are students needing. And that is a big piece of the work that we do. And an exciting thing I'm going to add in is just our staff is very engaged in this, and they do really take an interest in how kids are doing, what areas they need to have more support in, how they can go about improving instruction to have better outcomes for students. And then building positive relationships, we have multiple things that we do to work on this. We have staff and student recognition systems. We have social and emotional learning that we are teaching to all students. We work on relational capacity activities for staff and students. We have a pretty good sources of strength program going in our school, and that is a suicide prevention, but it also has a lot of just social emotional learning. Our elementary counselor actually is teaching those lessons weekly with our elementary students, and then runs clubs for the 6th through 8th. And our elementary part, they do a weekly assembly, and we recognize Titans of the Week for whatever trait we're working on. And then we also showcase our students in our weekly announcements that our leadership kids provide. So points of pride for following expectations. And we have reading and math interventions for all students who need additional academic support, and that's been a super great thing to have to help boost up skills for students that are needing it. We do have AVID electives for grades 6 through 8, and we have an amazing AVID coordinator and teachers that are super engaged in that. Our 4th and 5th graders get a little extra special privilege since they have to be drug along with middle school, and they get to participate in foods class, which big shout out to our foods teacher. It is a little bit extra challenging to have to do foods with 4th and 5th graders, but she does an excellent job. So they also participate in PE, art, and music. So we have worked this year to coordinate our advisory classes with our AVID, some of our AVID goals, and integrate our SEL lessons, and our AVID coordinator has done a great job of getting those pre-ready for our staff so they can have a uniform approach. In our actively engaging in learning, these are some of the things I already shared, but one of our goals this year, I said we really were focused on student engagement and student talk. And these are the instructional strategies that we all agreed on working on this year was focused notes, anticipatory guides, compare and contrast matrices. And we do regular professional development, and then staff will bring back artifacts to staff meetings and share with their colleagues, and they get to learn from one another. This year, when we did our reading screeners for winter, all of our grades 4, 5, 7, and 8 had met their goal for winter, so that was super exciting. We're hoping we meet that goal again in the spring. That's going to happen, or that testing will happen next week. And another really exciting thing we did this year that we hadn't done because of COVID was our career fair, and it was all students 4 through 8 participated. It was awesome. We had over 20 Community members that came in and shared about their careers. They were awesome. They did 5 rounds, 5 sessions of 20 minutes, so they got to talk a lot the whole day. But the kids, it was super fun and engaging, and the kids did behave amazingly well, and it was just fun for them to have that outside perspective. So something we'll definitely keep going. And then we've been able to add in Oregon Battle of the Books. So building positive relationships, I did mention some of these already, but we do work on recognizing positive behavior with staff and students, and we put them in the categories of our vision, following expectations, actively engaging in learning, and building positive relationships. We have little tickets staff can give to each other about if they did something that was helpful or inspiring, and we have like a big reward system with that, which ends up being when we have this board we fill in, and when we get 10 in a row where staff have given these to each other, I bring them, I say a school appropriate drink of their choice. So that's pretty fun. This year we were able to have our track season again. We had a volunteer that came in and ran a chess club, which was awesome. We have really great partnerships with Lynn County Mental Health, the Juvenile Justice Department, Jackson Street, Ophelia's Place, and they run individual and group counseling sessions. Super grateful for all of those. So needed, and it just helps meet a lot of needs. So like I mentioned, our counselor has been teaching sources of strength lessons to all of our 4th through 6th graders. And then we also do some focused skill groups, and I mentioned Sources of Strength Club, and then we have our Upstanders Club for 7th and 8th grade. So challenges, no different than anyone else, I don't think, but we do have an issue with attendance, and like Susie mentioned, if they're not there, it's really hard to have them have the growth they need, and when they are there, we really see a lot of improvement. So this, learning deficits also from virtual learning are real, especially in math. It seemed it impacted math more. Mental health needs they just are there. Kids have a lot of really challenging situations, and they need support. Staff shortages due to absences still has been tough, and that really does impact morale of staff. And then behavior. So some things our students say about us at Timber Ridge. We have Adeline in 6th grade that said, they're good teachers, which is great. Gracie, I like my friends here. Mason, the school influences me, my being nice to people. Hayden, I like the learning, the positive energy, and the friends you can make here. Mika, I like that we can teacher aid at Meadow Ridge, which I have to say that's been awesome. We partnered up this 2nd semester, and we have kids from Timber going over, I think, every period of the day, and they're teacher aiding at Meadow Ridge, and it's been an awesome thing, and we'll keep that going. And then I really like Avid. It really helps you bring up your grades, reach your goals, and raise your GPA. A lot of teachers are pretty nice to students. That was Winter. So, and staff. What staff say. What I like about Timber Ridge is the staff is so caring and look out for each other. If there is a need, my coworkers will find a way to step in and meet it. That was from Nancy. This is our office staff. I will touch on the behavior support team that has been created and enhanced each year. The support put in place allows for less disruption and distraction in class so that learning can continue for others. I know that it may not always seem like less, especially this time of year. It is May. But I see this team tirelessly on the move to keep disruption at a minimum. Our behavior team and support rocks. And then Timber Ridge is an amazing place to teach. The team I work with bends over backwards for students and each other, and our administration has our backs. I love working with people who give 110% every day. That was Jen. And then working with a team that is both supportive and inspiring pushes me to continue growing as an educator. We also have a great student body, and I'm thrilled to be working across grade levels. And that was Stephanie. So mine was sort of short and sweet. If you have any questions.
Eric?
Could you expand, thank you for your
Yes,
presentation.
yep.
Could you expand on outdoor school, like where they go, how long it is, what they're learning?
Yes, so we were the first group to go. We went in the beginning of May, and we went up to Opal Creek, which is up Silver Falls, Opal Creek. And our kids went in 2 groups. The first, each group that went for 2.5 days. So they spent 2 nights and then had a half day. And they did a lot of outdoor learning, very much science related, some writing, some activities, and some just general like social emotional, building.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
How would you say your attendance now compares to a couple of years ago?
I should have put my exact numbers up here. I didn't. I know we're significantly lower than we were for our regular attenders. I would say I'm like 7 or 8% at least below. So it has been a decrease since COVID. I
So
just think there was.
that's way up on your list of concerns.
Oh, yes. It's one of our goals for next year. It was a goal for this year. We have a team that is working really hard at helping increase attendance. It's a pretty layered approach, and, trying to dig in and figure out why kids aren't making it to school. What can we do to help them get there? So, and we get pretty creative too about how we do a school day to make sure we're meeting needs and helping kids continue to learn.
What, how do you feel, or most places I talk to say that behaviors, although they're not great, they're improving, and they have improved over the last year and a half, year and 3/4 that kids have been back. It's been similar for you, or what would you say about that?
Did you say behaviors? Is that what you
Yes.
said?
Yes,
Okay,
sorry.
I had to make sure that's what you said. Yes, for the most part, I would say that. I do think there was a loss of being together, working together while we were out, and so I think there was some missed skill building and learning. And middle school is a tough time anyway, and so you really do need those skills. So I do think that has impacted some of the things. It's more immature things that we see often too. So you see that. I think there was being at home and not having that interaction stunted some of that growth that we maybe would have seen differently.
Roger?
First, I think you do a great job. You have a very difficult job. Thank you for all that you do. Just in the way of structure, 4th through 8 covers a lot of changes in kids, and having them in the same building together. Is it working? Does it work? Will it work going forward?
So I would say, yes, we make it work because that's what we have and we do. And I think, like any situation, it has pluses and minuses. And we, I think, do a decent job of making the very best of the situation that we have. We have done a lot of partnering with our grades and classes at times, and we would like to do more of that again. I think it helps build a more positive environment for everybody involved. It has its level of challenges too, just purely with scheduling. And we run 2 spell schedules, and then you have, there's some of those more complicated pieces that come up when you're trying to put different things together. So,
Thank you.
yes, thank you.
And we are paying attention to the East Albany plan. I know the city just changed their plan, and there's houses growing all over in your area. So I know Andy's watching it very closely.
Yes, keep watching because we're soon to run out of space again. Yes, anyway.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much. Well done.
Thank you.
Okay, H4, next up, school report, South Shore Elementary. Mr. Gardner.
It's my pleasure to introduce Marcy Beltran, and she will be presenting on South Shore Elementary. How many years have you been the principal there, Mar?
Oh my gosh.
Oh, didn't mean to.
Years? 4 years.
4 years. So she'll be sharing. It is a unique school, and I'll let her share about it.
I can't share until.
It's me. I have to stop sharing. Sorry, my fault.
There you go.
There, I just did it.
Thank you. It's not sharing yet.
Outdoor school's gotta be one of those things that sticks with you though, forever. Like you remember outdoor school.
I certainly do.
Yeah.
There we go. All right. Good evening, everyone. Marcy Beltran, principal at South Shore. Our mission is South Shore is a dual language school where all students are inspired to reach their highest potential through bilingualism, biliteracy, and multiculturalism. Quick facts about our school. We have 26 certified staff, 17 classroom teachers, full-time PE and music, resource, a 0.6 speech pathologist, full-time counselor, 17 BIPOC teachers, 65% of our staff, 23 bilingual or emergent bilinguals, which is 88% of our staff. 23 classified staff. This also includes kitchen and custodial. 14 are BIPOC, 61% of our staff. 14 are bilingual or emergent bilinguals, 61%. 63% of all of our staff are BIPOC, and 76 are bilingual or emergent bilingual. We're very proud of that. Our students. We have 341 students, 52% are English language learners, 48% are Spanish language learners. Part of that 48%, I did not decipher the data, but part of the 48% includes students who are fully bilingual in Spanish and English. We have one TAG student, 13% SPED, 44% are free and reduced lunch. Hispanic Latino students, we have 239, making 70% of our school Latino students. Non-Hispanic, non-Latino students, we have about 102 students. 5 students American Indian, 1 Asian, 0 Black students. Pacific Islanders, 2 students. White, 72 students. But we do have 22 students who are biracial, which includes some of the Black students, Asian students, and others. Our approach based on the GAP strategic plan, equitable outcomes for all students. We have, as many of the elementaries have also shared, we have a multi-tier system of support. We have bilingual reading interventions, individual problem-solving processes, instructional leadership team, social and emotional mental health supports. We have a foundations team, 2 behavior coaches, full-time counselor who teaches SEL lessons throughout the month in a rotating cycle. And we have social emotional learning focus groups that are also our counselor leads. Rigorous and engaging academics. We have QTEL planning, PLC teams, curriculum mapping, and instructional coaches. Points of pride, South Shore community and staff and families. We're very proud of who we have as our staff and families. We are the only elementary with a dual language program. All of our students, we like to see them, we like to say that all of our students are language learners, whether they're learning Spanish or they're learning English or they're learning to improve both their languages. Teachers do a great job in integrating QTEL strategies into all subjects. We have the only Spanish preschool program in the district. We do a lot of enrichment classes. We have free orchestra classes for 3rd through 5th grade. Through the Albany Youth Orchestra, we run 2 after-school programs where we offer musical, cooking, food art. We do OBOB. In the past, we've also done Battle of the Books in Spanish with partnering with Corvallis, book studies, sports, arts, Lego robotics. We do a lot of different activities, and that's based on whatever the teachers are wanting to teach during those sessions, and we have one in the fall and one in the spring. We also do Wednesday Running Club, where both the PE teacher and the music teacher partner up together on Wednesdays and provide specials at the same time, allowing our teachers to be able to plan and prep together. One of the big things that I'm super proud of is that we support our classified staff in fulfilling their career goals. We have 6 teachers who were previously classified staff members in the district who are now teachers. 5 teachers who worked as classroom teachers as they were completing their teaching programs. And many staff members who are part of your Grow Your Own program in the district. Challenges: finding bilingual licensed teachers and assistants. That's has always been a challenge. Finding substitutes to cover when teachers are sick, try to take planning days, or try to attend professional development. Finding a bilingual substitute, even harder. A need for dean of students. We've had an increase in some of the student behavior, and so we are one of few schools, elementary schools, who doesn't have a dean. Another one that is a huge concern for me is busing students who would like to attend our bilingual program, specifically newcomers. That's something that isn't currently happening. We do bus students who opt out of our program into other schools, but we don't bus students who specifically would benefit from a program like ours into our school. And then maintaining strong systems of interventions when we are in need to hire staffing throughout the year. This year specifically was extremely difficult as we were constantly trying to hire staffing. Some of the things our students said: Lenny from first grade, I like math the most because my teacher teaches me how to write numbers and do equations. Pablo from second grade, I love learning Spanish because my dad is from Argentina and learning Spanish helps me speak to my uncles and cousins who are there. Alfonso, third grade, said, me gusta venir a South Shore porque tengo muchos amigos y aprendo matemáticas. I like to come to South Shore because I have a lot of friends and I love to learn math. Zoe in fourth grade, I love coming to South Shore because we have a really nice teachers and we are all bilingual. Our staff, what they say: Misty Pyburn, who's one of our fourth grade teachers. I like working at South Shore because we value and celebrate different cultures. Every student has the opportunity to feel like their background knowledge brings something unique and special to our classrooms and community. I am most proud of being part of a staff that truly builds bridges for students to open up world of opportunities. We show students that their multiculturalism is an asset rather than a deficit. Grace in first grade, I love having a team I can rely on. I am proud of all the students I can impact in a positive way each year. Maria Aguilar, one of our third grade teachers, I love to work at South Shore because of our hardworking and loving staff. It reflects on our students. I am proud of all our bilingual students and how they show pride in themselves. And then Miss Wolf, also a first grade teacher. I enjoy working at South Shore because I feel we're a strong community of teachers and support staff who care about our students and want best for them. I am proud to be part of the bilingual program at South Shore because we are helping our students grow to become successful bilingual, bicultural, and biliterate learners for the future. Any questions?
I have a question about the bus transportation. And Mr. Bowen is a magic. He just works magic all the time. Like everything he works on, it's like, oh, fixed. I have a question actually about busing. Do we ever paint our own buses when we maintenance them? So they're not yet. Okay, is what you're saying. So there's initiative right now. So Alaska Airlines, Southwest Airlines are painting their planes very culturally to where they go. So some of them will have Hawaiian tropical things. And I just think it would be amazing to have a bus that drives around our whole district to pick up kids, to bring them to South Shore that was painted very culturally representing, South America, Mexico, those things where people speak Spanish. And it would advertise, because as a parent, I didn't know about this program when my son enrolled in GAPS. But it would also advertise about this phenomenal program that we have and support this. So it's just something to think about, gentlemen.
In the past, we've presented at kinder orientation about the program. We also do a information night in May where we invite incoming families to learn about our program.
Perfect.
Great presentation. What do you see as your largest obstacle? Is it absenteeism? Is it behavior? Is it staffing? All the above?
All the above, but most importantly, honestly, is staffing.
Staffing.
Finding bilingual staff is a huge
Sure.
issue.
Okay. Michael?
Yeah, I don't know how many years South Shore has been the dual language program, but as the only one, do we turn families away who want to do it, or have we found a way? We fill the space, but it seems like over time, is space an issue? It seems like it's a desirable program and it's only going to grow over time.
The program has been in existence for 14 years in the elementary level. And no, we don't turn away any family. Any incoming kinder or first grade is accepted right away. It does become a little more difficult as the grades go up because the students are not learning Spanish, they're learning in Spanish, so it's completely different. And so an incoming second grader and above would have a more difficult time engaging in the learning when they're trying to figure out the language as well. So we do an assessment for second and up to ensure that they're successful in the program.
Roger?
So the development of your staff that start at a lower level and ultimately become teachers it's really important.
Right.
And we're going to need to do it as a district as we go forward and attempt to compete for a shrinking labor pool of folks to teach. So in just a couple of minutes, tell me how you're doing it.
How am I helping I'm not quite sure right now.
How is the South Shore community giving the development opportunities and creating teachers out of folks who start at a lower level than that?
Well, we have a district program, Grow Your Own, which is providing the opportunity. A lot of our SEAs who come in wanting to further their education or wanting to become teachers, join that Grow Your Own program within the district. And so honestly, that's how I'm filling a lot of my positions, as you saw.
Good for you.
Grow Your Own
Great
was
work.
I just want to interrupt, was a student investment account program that's part of the 2019 Student Success Act and continues on. I believe that's still part of our plan to continue that with that money. It's not only great in our district, it's great in districts all across the state.
Yeah, currently I have maybe 2 or 3 assistants who are looking into either starting school or being part of the Grow Your Own as they're continuing higher education. Very proud of the staff who go to school as they're working and furthering their opportunities.
Well done.
I'd like to add, that with the board's support, where we've gone maybe different than other districts, the Grow Your Own program provides financial support from freshman through senior year in college for any student graduate and staff member that meets those criteria of some specific funds we have, and it is about growing our bilingual, bicultural staff. But a couple years ago, I shared with the board, we had our first staff member who was needing to stop working to be able to do their student teaching. And we wrapped that individual into our Grow Your Own program to continue that person's funding of their job as if they were in their job, but their job became to do their student teaching and is a teacher at South Shore. And we've got our second hire this year again supporting people during that student teaching piece when they might financially then struggle if you're not able to work has been huge. And I think that's what's growing, to know that we are truly committed to our staff who are going back to school. And when they reach their student teaching portion of their program, we're still with them. And Marcia has just opened up her school to say, come learn to be a teacher here. She's created that environment. So it's the board's support has been huge with that.
Thank you, Marcy.
Nope, thank you very much. Okay. Next up is consent agenda. Number 1, personnel licensed.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve personnel license as presented.
I second that motion, that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Next up, I2, personnel classified.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve personnel classified as presented.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I3, minutes, regular board meeting, 4, TAC 24, TAC 23.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve minutes, regular board meeting 4/24/23 as presented.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. I4, the 40/30 grant agreement. Mr. Superintendent, you'd like to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, and I'll defer as well to Jane and Heather, but this represents an MOU. It awaits your signature. We're going to be bringing all MOUs through you so that we are tracking them. The public is aware of those as well. You'll recall that the 40/30 grant from the state was for recruitment and retention. Last year during COVID, and we did have unspent funds remaining. Mrs. Knopfziger and Ms. Huzevska worked to come up with a funding to our district classified and certified members. This money would, of course, just surrender to the state on June 30th if we did not take this action. So there has been work, and again, it's intermittent at times. We had to get together, we had to calculate the amounts, but those amounts are shown in that agreement. It's a fairly simple, straightforward agreement. We appreciate the work with GAEA and GAACE.
Any questions? Do I hear a motion?
Mr. Chair, I move to approve the 40/30 grant agreement as presented.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, next up, I5, memorandum of understanding, classified pay adjustments. Mr. Superintendent?
Yeah, this is a classified compensation change proposal. It took quite some time to develop some of this. We have known that we had some wage challenges, and you can see the purpose there listed at the top. Bus drivers and other positions within transportation, facilities and maintenance, licensed practical nurses, SEA, the PCA, personal care assistants, et cetera. And I will leave it to Mrs. Knopfziger and Ms. Huzevska to put the particulars in of how this will relate. But we had built this as a way to fix some targeted areas of lower pay in our contract. And so what you see tonight is the fruition of those efforts. There was one element in here that we would like to have you act on, and then we will correct it. I believe there is one more new position that is not designated. Okay, thank you. And so we would reflect that, and then we would make sure that that is signed and would be included going forward. Ms. Knopfziger, do you have anything to add?
Just that the additions really help our work to have these positions be comparable. It's calculated at 5% based on the current salary schedules.
So you're saying all these groups, it's a 5%, or is it some of it's targeted more depending on what's going on?
They're all 5%.
Okay. Any other questions? Do I hear a motion?
I'd move approval as presented.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, next up, J, old business, the budget committee calendar. Mr. Superintendent?
Yeah, I'll turn this over to Jane, but you'll recall that we did postpone by 1 week. We still ended up starting on the same day as the revenue forecast coming out, but this is going to require the addition, possibly, we may have another meeting, and it is added in here for the following week. Jane, do you have anything more to add?
No, that covers it.
Okay, the budget committee calendar, do I hear a motion?
I move to approve the budget committee calendar update as presented.
I'll second the motion.
All in favor? Any opposed? Nothing in reports. Next up is bond bills, business reports, L1, monthly bond report.
Good evening,
Evening.
Chair Pete or Chair Morse and board members. In your packet, you had the April and the month report for capital projects. And in it, we talked about South Shore Elementary School, getting casework, final polishing of concrete flooring, and the first phase of its exterior canopy that connects to the main campus. And then it also started HVAC equipment and commissioning. And then also at South Albany High School, we just finished pre-construction activities, so we're ready to start roofing materials that come in on Friday, June 16th. Is when that material will be coming in. And then also West Albany High School baseball netting. All the contract requirements were completed in April, and we issued the notice to proceed to the contractor. So those are kind of highlights from that report. Are there any questions?
I don't believe so.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Skip.
Okay, next, L2 District Facilities Project Report.
Yeah, I'll go through this rather quickly, but a few of the topics I'm going to report on tonight have come up over the last couple of meetings and at the Budget Committee, so I have some more information in here about transportation and facilities in general. Just want to remind, this is our guiding purpose in the departments that I'm leading now, and we've been making good strides here. Reminder of just our projects that we have going on for summer and spring. The Timber Ridge boiler, we're still waiting on some parts there. The pool's still a little bit cold, waiting on parts as well. We have some work going on in the cafeteria at Central as well, and we're looking forward to that project. And then Skip mentioned these projects as well. South Shore, we do have a planned move-in for June 16th. Final inspection for the West Albany netting is in August, and then we have an August completion date also for South Albany. So those are moving forward. One of the things I wanted to speak to that's come up a lot is transportation in general. So I want to lay out some slides here. These slides are actually been developed by Cindy, our transportation director, and they are part of her primary goal for next year. So these are pulled right from her goal presentation that she is doing for the district in June. So let me give you some context to this. So we have 46 routes there, if you calculate them on the left. It came up in the Budget Committee meeting yesterday, how many positions do we have or how many are unfilled? So let me take you through this. So we generally will have 46 drivers employed with us because we have 46 routes. And you can see that the blue and the red, I guess it's red, you add those two together and you see for across the span, we are short. We haven't fulfilled all those positions most of the year. So we generally have been down, we've averaged between 39 and 44 drivers during the year to cover those routes. If you look to the far right in the graph, you see that there's substitutes and relief drivers. Relief drivers, we've averaged 2 and 3. Usually we have 8. We have 8 open positions in the budget to have relief drivers. The 5 substitutes that you see those aren't substitutes. Those are mechanics, office staff that are available to drive when necessary. So that's the challenge right there is filling all those positions in staffing. And the relief drivers that we did have that were 8, they've moved to regular drivers. So that's why we're short in that area. So that's the work that Cindy has put together to prepare her goals for next year. And to go into this further, this graph is a little bit skewed visually, but it really 0 to 3% is where our cancellations are right now. So we do a lot of routes, obviously, throughout the district. So the lowest is 0% cancels in September, and it's up to about 3% in February. And I believe February, we had quite a few flu bug go around through transportation, and it really took its toll in February. But that's sort of the cancellations that we have this school year. So this is another way to look at it. And this will be a challenge. I asked her to put this together because of some of the presentations we've had from the elementary schools about which routes are being canceled and which ones are being canceled more often. So I asked her to put together this graph to look at that, and that's the analysis that she's done. So the little line across the graph is actually the number of routes that they have at the school. So you have to do a little bit of math to figure out what the average is there. And I've done that. So, but you can kind of see where there's more cancellations. So there's a balance here. You want to keep a consistent driver on the bus to greet kids, welcome kids, know kids, and not cancel certain routes. Well, certain routes haven't had a driver all year long, consistent driver. So moving one driver to another open route disrupts those students coming onto the bus and relationship those drivers have with those students. So one of the things that we've been talking about is trying to balance that out a little bit. How might we balance that out if we have cancellations? The goal is not to have as many, but if we have some, how might we balance that out so not one school is affected more than other schools? But that's the data that we're working with and planning on for next year. So facilities, I was asked to bring some facilities updates about work orders and request systems. So we average right about 450 work orders requests each month is what we average across the district. You can see this is skewed a little bit. Overdue, the system defaults right now to 2 days for every work order if you don't put in a time on it. So just because it's overdue doesn't mean we didn't respond in a timely manner right now. We're working on that. But you can see we close about 375 to 400 work orders each month. And so that's a lot of work being done over there. And you can see here, where are they at? For what for? And this is just for this calendar year. You can see where a lot of them fall across the system. Grounds is pretty heavy. Those others up there in that one column are things like appliances, pest control, which we've heard a lot about this year. Roofing and painting is a lot of in that others group up there. And then the 503 that's in that other column, the system would let me really dive into that more. But those are where they're coming from. And then what schools are generating them. So you can see south and west are our highest generators of work orders. They also have the most staff, which makes sense. And then you go on down the line. It's actually pretty much high school, middle school, then our elementary schools, right? So that's kind of where they're coming from. So our team is continuing to plan, scope out projects. We're monitoring, we're building the software up to use it more, be more effective with it. We're still looking at our costs, and we're still giving you updates each month. So I'll that was a quick overrun, but and then I wanted to address also, so the issue that we spoke about earlier, Mr. Thompson, that you brought up. So on Friday, about 8:45 in the morning, we received that letter, and I received a copy of it as well. By 10:30, we had a bus available for that route. So I investigated a little bit of what occurred there. So Silver Falls was the sponsor of the event. They had a late notification to our schools of what was happening with that track meet. So when I called South, they really didn't know about the event because the athletic director at Silver Falls had a difficulty getting all the communications out that occurred. So that's why that occurred. The person that normally communicates with from South to the transportation was out on leave as well, so that didn't help matters at all. I contacted West. They had the same issue. They just got it a couple days earlier, and that's why the route occurred. I also asked some questions about route trip cancellations and trip notices. I didn't find any evidence that there was any type of preferential to one or other. It's merely driven by lack of drivers, a lack of available trip drivers, or maybe a little bit on sports they preferred to watch. But I didn't see any evidence. But I can look at data on which ones have been canceled. I didn't go into that, but we didn't find any evidence of that. And it was, and we got a route. Cindy worked really hard. We had a husband and wife team that paired up to take the route. We're happy to do it. Just didn't have the opportunity to make phone calls, so we got it done for them.
Yeah, I didn't even think, I don't remember the email. The actual event that kicked it off, I think it did get covered. That's great. And it's great to talk about it here because that teacher coach talks to other teacher coaches, and you know how that goes. It gets solidified that this is the way and this is the thing, and you just gave a great answer.
Yeah.
And I just think data, I just assume that there's data on trips, and you can say, hey, this is what's happening. And the umbrella that I think we all understand is that there's not enough drivers. So we start with that. But just talking about it here, I think it's important.
It makes sense, but I'm kind of surprised that it kind of depends on the sport because the driver wants to watch it. That hadn't occurred to me, but I guess it does.
Yeah.
So, okay, is that it, Dave?
That's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, new business. Go ahead. Sorry, Roger. Missed you.
I don't know if it's new, and it's new to me, so I feel obligated to disclose it and maybe discuss for a minute. Through my travels in the last week, I've had a lot of conversations with a lot of moving parts in the GAPS organization. And today, I've come to believe that our certified staff believes that they're operating under one contract, and the district believes we're operating under a different contract. And I didn't really understand that until today, but now I do. And I would just ask that representatives of the certified union and of the district get together, bring all your documents related to the contract and related to whatever contract that the party thinks that we're operating under, and resolve that. I mean, that this should not be a hard one, except we have to call somebody with a law degree. But short of that, let's just get the documents out in front of everybody and look at where we're at and see if that's easily resolvable. And if not, we need to resolve it like now, because whether we have to go down to the courthouse and to get a declaratory ruling or whatever that takes, because the underpinnings are that there are a few underlying issues, not monetary related, that the certified employees have that I think, it's easy for me to say, but I think are solvable fairly simply. And we need to do that. We had a budget committee meeting on Wednesday, and I was very concerned about how we were going to get the employees in the district a COLA, an increase in pay, whatever you want to call that, that would move them up in some way compared to the hit that they've all taken in the last 2 years in the way of inflation. And I think it was a good budget exercise, and it was a good plan. And the money's usually the hard stuff. And it feels to me like we collectively have a handle on that. And so we shouldn't be in a position where people are unhappy or there's misunderstandings based on communication or different interpretations of communication. So I just ask Superintendent Gardner your thoughts, and I can't convey enough, for me at least, the urgency that we get to this sooner rather than later.
Thank you, Mr. Nyquist. I cannot disagree. There has been bargaining this year. I think that there has been a misunderstanding about like what type of bargaining. There has been a lot of work in bargaining. We have multiple solved problems that are tentatively agreed to. But we have not resolved this, so we cannot express those yet into the contract in what we are doing. So we need to, and there are still some other ones, and we need to come together and talk. And I sent the union president a note on Friday saying exactly that. Regardless of which type of bargaining it is important that we would come together and discuss these and begin to work on these. And I reiterate that here, that we are willing to talk, that we actually have a couple of topics in front of them right now for their perusal. And we are very willing to continue the discussion. And we will reach out again.
Okay, so I want to double back and reemphasize the point of establishing what the rules are. Because if we think we're operating under one set of rules and other parties think it's another set of rules, that can be, we're starting from a difficult place versus take care of that first. Again, it's easy for me to say here, but then get to these underlying issues that I think are solvable. And I'd like to look at a timeline that has, easy for me to say, a timeline that has those things resolved by the time we're passing a budget.
We shall endeavor on that timeline.
Thank you.
Okay, M, new business. M1, layoff of staff, superintendent.
Yeah, this is a requirement of board policy. I believe there's a timeline as well for licensed staff. Any layoff that would be, a notice that would be handed to a staff member would require this action on your part. We do not anticipate a massive number. Most of the positions that we would end up reducing, people can move to other positions. Some people will leave the district. And so we think that the net is a fairly small impact, but we do know that there is a potential that this could work its way out. For example, we are adding PE positions, although we are reducing some other teaching positions, maybe at different grade levels. They may not be able to go be PE teachers, for example. And so this is pro forma. Heather, would you like to comment further?
No, I mean, that covers it. We're
Okay.
looking at the reductions that were discussed in the budget and absorbing as much of that through resignations or retirements, but that doesn't necessarily always line up with all the program requirements. So we're in the middle of, it could be a shifting of individuals, a shifting of time, and it's getting people in the right places based on their licensure.
There's a GAPS policy that talks, and we talked about it, sound like a broken record, but COSA is a benefit that we pay to our administrators as part of their benefit package. But part of that at the tail end says the district will continue to pay it as long as they have the funds available to do that. So I was just wondering where we draw the line at association dues for administrators versus laying off employees, terminating employees.
Well, I think that's something that's, we provide to all of them, and I think that is a AAA agreement, right? And I think if we were to take that away, we would end up paying them to individually sign up for it anyway. And so I don't know that there's a savings there. I think in normal times, I don't think we're in extraordinary times. Corvallis has about 6,700 students. They've cut 42 positions. I think we have 9,000 students. We've reduced by 32 positions. I don't think we're in an extraordinary time like that where we would be, to the very end, the last cut or anything like that. Not that that wouldn't be.
I agree, and I respect the way you're trying to do it through fruition of retirements, but we also saw a presentation by Principal Osborne tonight where it was saying that it could greatly impact student success and graduation.
Yeah, I can't really respond to that because there are, in a school of 1,200 kids and 100 staff members, 70 certified. I can't know what priority she assigned that this ended up being the area. I couldn't speak to that.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
This is new business, so we're just talking about it, or do we need,
Yeah,
we
you
need
gotta do
action?
it.
Okay, so do I hear a motion?
Move approval.
I second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
For the record, the motion passes 3-1.
M2, Chromebook purchase. Mr. Gardner?
Yep, Mr. Bullen is going to talk to you as well. Again, as we are making progress on the budget, we have several things that have, grown a little bit out of balance in the district over the last few years. Among them is Chromebooks. You'll remember that we put a lot of Chromebooks into our students' hand and they left the building, and we are now in a place where we are having to incorporate both this and our desktop replacement into our plans. Dave, take it away.
Well said. So we're just late into the process of getting this approval. Typically, we'd bring you a PO, but because we're late in the budget process, we want to make sure we had the funding sources before we brought this to you. So we're gathering the necessary quotes for this, but we met with Jane the other day to confirm our numbers, to make sure we had the budget plan moving forward with development. So this is the need that we have, and we're going to use multiple different accounts at this time to be able to fulfill this purchase. So this is just a really authorization to move forward with the purchase because it exceeds $150,000 by policy.
Okay, I have a question prior to doing this. I know just a little while back, when I first came on the board, one of the questions was, hey, we'll use my daughter, what Chromebook does she have? And the answer was, from this district, we have no idea. Okay, wow. Are we to a better place now? Can we line up who has what and how many they've gone through? Or, we can't just keep printing these things. We got to figure out where they are and track them a little better. Are we to that point now that we're going to spend more money?
We're in a good spot. We're in a good spot.
I think we're in a good spot, other than just the bill to become sustainable. Right?
Yeah.
So, and I think the desktops for staff, which they were just totally neglected, and here we are, they're all on Windows 10. That goes away next year. And so we also have this really critical thing. And all of these things are playing into a budget where we're trying to do the work for staff, and make sure that we have, still good schools as kids experience them.
Okay, and we're looking for motion, correct?
Yes.
For action, okay. Do I hear a motion?
Mr. Chair, I move to approve Chromebook purchase authorization as presented.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, next up, M3, 2023-24 school bus replacement needs.
So I will happily turn this over to Mrs. Knopfziger. I think this is one of the challenging areas in the budget. And before she begins to speak, I will say that just looking back on what has happened in the last two budgets, I'm not sure how deeply this has been understood, but it is our goal, and I know Lindsay and Jane are working on this, so that we can really gain control of this as an ongoing expense. Go ahead, Jane.
So it's the district's policy or practice, probably practice is a better word, to lease buses every year. The leases are range in years, but for this year, we paid off a lease and that was $150,000. So in total, the debt service we paid was about $800,000. And so what I'm asking you tonight is to approve the 5 buses, but I want to come back to you. I want to analyze, because I've been talking with other business managers who own their own buses. Many of them, because this is reimbursed 70% from the state through transportation grant. Many of them, instead of a lease program where they're paying interest, actually have a purchase program, and they spend about the same amount we do comparatively, but they're able to purchase and avoid the interest. I don't know how that gets seated. I haven't figured all the numbers out. So I'm asking for your approval, and we'll do either a lease or a purchase. If I can figure out the purchase way, that's obviously the best that I've learned from other business managers.
Have question for you. And this is budget meeting thing, but when we were doing the budget meeting, we had debt service. Is this where most of our debt service?
No,
Okay, where's the rest of it?
this resides in the bus lease fund.
Okay.
The debt service is separate. It's the bond and the capital
the bond.
construction.
Okay. Go ahead, Roger.
So if I'm to understand, it's 70% reimbursable, whether it's a lease or a purchase.
That's correct.
And so how long does the lease run for?
They range. Some of them are 10 years, 12 years.
Who owns the bus at the end of the lease?
The district.
Is there a charge at the end of the lease, or
No, we pay interest.
well, however, a lease is a lease, right?
Right.
And what you're saying is interest is baked into the price of the lease.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Thank you. I understand. It'll be interesting to see how this turns out.
There's variability in the agreements, the various agreements as well, so I think we have to share that.
And Jane, you need action, correct?
Yes.
Okay, do I hear a motion?
So I have a clarifying question. Are you going to come back and show us your homework assignment before you pull the trigger on something?
Yes, but
Okay.
this just allows Cindy to continue her work to get pricing. But we won't pull the trigger because we'll come back with lease or purchase option.
I'm so focused on this, I've lost where we're at. Is there a motion or a second, or do you need one?
I need a motion.
I move approval.
I'll second.
All right, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, next up, future agenda items. We don't have any other business. Next up is adjourn at 8:27. Do I have a motion to do that?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
A second?
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We're adjourned 8:27.